What can you achieve through passive investing? Join me today because Prashant is going to explain all of the perks, all the benefits, and all the reasons why people investing in multifamily continue to repeat and repeat and repeat. He's going to go into the details as to, all the different vehicles, all the different ways that you can capitalize and get your money working in multiple ways through multifamily investing. Without any waiting, here you go. Hey guys, welcome back to Ask Me How I Know. I am so excited to be joined by Prashant. I've seen Prashant at some different online virtual events and we've crossed paths on social media, but this is the first time that we've actually been able to have a really awesome conversation. And I'm so excited to talk with you, Prashant. Thanks for joining us.
Julie, thank you so much for your time. I'm honored that you have invited me in your podcast tonight.
Well, it's going to be fantastic. So he was kind of letting me off you were being kind to me. You're like, oh, you're doing this on a Friday night. And I'm like, well, I'm Pacific, so it's really not night for me. I always feel bad for the people on the East Coast.
I'm good. I'm good. I would take all the opportunities. If I could talk on podcasts, I would take it. So thank you again.
Well, speaking of opportunities, you are involved in multifamily investing, which is obviously why we're having this conversation. And you and I, off air, we're talking about the opportunities that are abundant in passively investing in multifamily real estate. And I'm ready to just jump in because I haven't had this conversation today and it's my favorite conversation.
That is correct. I just really want to talk. You just shoot me the questions, and I'm gonna answer. Whatever you're gonna want to know. I'm sure you know a lot about it already, but I know a little bit, so I'll share my knowledge with the listeners. Today.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm wondering, what is your drive? Like, why do you think passive? Well, let's even back up further because I have been reaching out to people over on social media that are not involved in our niche. And I have been absolutely shocked how many people don't know what passive investing is. So I've been doing a lot of educating on that front. And I'm wondering how you would like to describe that to the audience.
See, basic fundamental is, I come from India, just a little bit of background. And I come from India, I came here in like 25 years ago, and I've been doing good jobs, good everything, corporate America, high paying jobs, things like that. But what I have realized is, and like, everybody else, is we were trading time with money, right? And yes, I have a job, and not everybody can move from one career to another career. I have moved on, but not everybody can move, right? I mean, there are a lot of doctors, a lot of people make a lot of money, and they do not know what to do with that money. And many times for people, what they do is they end up buying real estate. They end up buying single family homes, they end up buying apartment complexes, or they end up buying office spaces, which they give it to, which either they manage themselves or they ask their property managers to manage. In either case, there is some active piece involved. The moment that active piece comes in, it means they are spending time to find the property, to do the research in the market, to do the closing, which everybody knows how long does it take to close a single family homes, at least 2 months, then to manage, to put it on the rental market, manage the tenant, and whole 9 yards. I mean, you get the idea how much time they spend. So they are really an active investor. So in other words, they have signed up for a new job, whether job is 1 hour a day or 3 hours a day. In addition to their work, if a doctor is working 50, 60 hours a week and he buys a couple of single families, he's spending another 2, 3 hours at least per week on his single family rental portfolio. Now, the point is, do you want to continue to work more to earn more, or do you want to you want your money to make money even when you are not spending time on it, right? So passive investing really is a vehicle in which all the people who have a bunch of money sitting, who have not put their money in the stock market, who don't know what the stock market is, or I mean, I don't want to go there, but who have money, and the money is sitting in the bank getting devaluated. The money in the bank, that is getting devaluated because of inflation. You are losing 3% value every year on your money. Your 100,000, what it can buy today, um, uh, is you need 103,000 next year to buy the same amount of stuff next year. That's just the basic principle. So you want your money to make money, not lose money. So passive investing is a concept in which you invest with somebody who is professional in the industry, somebody who knows what they are doing, somebody who does the research for you in the market, somebody who basically buys the asset, somebody who manages the asset professionally. Managing professionally means managing better than what you and I can do. I mean, not you and I, basically in general, in their business. A doctor managing an asset is different than I and you managing an asset, because we are professionals. Plus, we have professional property managers who are there for us, managing our property, and and on top of it, it is being regulated. It is not just you are giving money to me and I'm running away with your money. There's a regulation, SEC involved, and all that. So, and as a passive investor, what you are doing is you are cutting the check and signing a piece of document called private placement memorandum, but you own the property. It's not that you are giving me, you're lending me the money. The same pride of ownership that you get by owning a single family home. Just for an example, let's say you buy a $300,000 single family home. Instead of buying $300,000 single family home, you are buying a percentage in a bigger asset. And all you do is you sign a couple of pieces of papers and you cut the check, which is, in my opinion, is not more than 10 to 15 minutes worth of work on an asset. And all you do is, basically, you cut the check. You are part owner of the property, and you are getting regular quarterly distributions, or you are getting basically reports what is going on the property, and you get quarterly distribution, of course, if that's how the project plan is. And in the end, when you sell it, you get the percentage in the upside of the property. So in other words, rather than buying you one single family home, you end up buying, let's say, 10% of a $3 million worth of property. So, and it is all passive for you, and it was managed for you by professionals. And to me, you end up making more money. You definitely end up making more money than what you would make on a single family home by managing all by yourself. That is truly called that is called true passive investment. And the benefits of those passive investments are far more than what you get in single families. I mean, and we'll get into that. But this is what is called passive investing. Did I say it right? I mean, do you want to add something, Julie?
Oh yeah, no, you just hit it dead on every. I'm just sitting here nodding my head, like, yeah, yep, spot on. And I know that one question that I am often asked, because I make that same statement, that I can, as a passive investor, a fractional owner, often otherwise known as a limited partner in one of these large scale syndications. In that role, people say, well, how can I possibly make more than if I own the single family house all on my own? So I know that's something I've heard and I've walked people through. So why don't you walk the audience through why this is more profitable than owning the single family?
100%, 100%. Very, very good question. You buy a single family home. In general, people make maybe 10 to 12% on return on their money. I'm talking about the money that they put in buying a single family home, if at all. Maybe 12%, maybe 15%, if at all, right? I mean, over the life cycle of the project of their single family homes. And I'm talking on a very high side. I'm just taking the statistics. They may end up making maybe 10 to 12% year over year if there was some cash flow and if there was some upside also. And and the ability for them to purchase the amount of time they have spent in that, they can, I mean, they can count it. It's up to them. Now let's take a multifamily example. Okay, I'm a passive investor. I'm a limited partner. Typical deals are maybe seven pref or eight pref. Let's say eight pref, right? I mean, you're getting 8% return on your money year over year anyway. And towards the end, you get bunch of upside. Towards when we exit on the project, you get bunch of upside. I mean, I personally never look at a project which does not give at least 15% return to my investors annualized. I just don't look at it at all. I mean, they are not in
Yep.
my wheelhouse. I mean, I'm talking about 15% like on the lowest side. I mean,
Yep.
typically the returns are 16, 17, conservatively with at least 17, 18 IRR, 15 plus IRR. So that's like for us to get into a syndication business, our goals, our metrics are like that. And we get into the projects which are value addition because we have professional teams who are acquisition side, who are finding the distressed asset, which is probably below market in whichever capacity, either it has, so there's some value add component, either there are some down units or there is opportunity to upgrade them and increase the rent or purely management efficiencies, you know. So we get in, we do the value addition by either putting a cash infusion or changing the management, putting our own team, and we as syndicators are being observed by banks regular because bank is the one who's giving us 70-80% money. So banks are regulating our banks wants to make sure that we are successful. So more than to investors, we are answerable to the bank and we are answerable to SEC that we are not making frauds, any no frauds are going on. And on top of it, we have professional property managers who are handling the property. So the property is being managed in a most professional way. Our metrics are to get into that project, we make at least 15% cash on cash. Now, you are listening to me. This is the most important thing is when you are getting into multifamily business, you are going to do the cost segregation study on your property, right? Which you cannot do in a single family. The benefit of doing a cost segregation in multifamily is far more than what you can have in single family. It's just not worth you to spend $5,000 to get the cost segregation study on a $200,000 home. Now we are talking about $3 to $5 million, maybe 10-20 million dollar property, which has bunch of components which can be depreciated much sooner than 30 years. They are depreciated in 2 years. I mean, 5 years, 1 year, 15 years time frame. So you get a lot of depreciation upfront, which reduces your tax liability. I have not gotten into a project where even the money that being invested by my investors, part of that doesn't get depreciated. So any income that you are making, you are almost making that income tax free. Again, I'm not the tax advisor. I'm just telling you that it is the benefit. And if you combine that benefit with the return that you get out of the property, your returns are not 15% anymore. They are much, much more than 15%. They are like 20, 25. I cannot even quantify how much their returns are because I'm not tax advisor and I'm not giving tax advice. But through cost segregation, they are able to reduce their rate. They're able to write off a bunch of income which is coming. I mean, the income that they were, a doctor making probably 300,000-400,000, he's paying like 35-37% tax rate. He invests 200,000 in a property and he write off that 200,000 at least for that year. Uh, you know, you are going to reduce that tax liability right away. So by investing into these bigger projects, there's a much more fundamental fundamental benefit for high earners, and that is where the real meat is. Plus, of course, you're going to get what you're going to get, 15 to 20%. That's like right there. I mean, that tax benefit is not there in single family debt at all. I mean, yes, you will depreciate it over 30 years, but who the heck, I mean, who's going to hold it for 30 years? So the point is, uh, these are apple. It's like you are talking about apple and a watermelon, in terms of the benefits. You are talking about one apple on one single family and one watermelon kind of benefits that, size wise, uh, and there's no comparison. That's all I can say.
I completely agree with you, Prashant, on that. And I'll add in addition, and there are some really great podcast episodes out there. If you're interested in learning more about cost segregation, I would highly recommend just Google Yonah Weiss, Weiss. I adore Yonah. He's fantastic. And he does a lot of educational components on cost segregation. And what that's doing ultimately is it's taking out, it's just finding everything that we can depreciate on a property, and it's just making that happen sooner, to put it in a really simple way. But here's the part that everyone needs to hear. And again, track down those podcast episodes, start listening to him. That depreciation can hop in a time traveled machine, and it can travel back in time, and you can kind of adjust your taxes in the past, and you can carry that tax depreciation forward with you. You're not limited to using that cost segregation depreciation in a single year. And so when you're using a skilled tax advisor, they can really leverage this to your benefit to reduce your tax liabilities. I think that's a really important factor when it comes to cost segregation.
Yes, no, absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head again. That's the real benefit for investing into multifamily. The other benefits I always tell, I mean, not just the benefit, the peace of mind that passive investor has. I mean, I also invest passively with others, right?
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, we all invest. And what do we do in that passive investment? Really nothing, right? You cut
Nothing.
the check. You,
I
you
do
cut the
nothing.
check. Yeah,
Prashant, there was a fire. There was a
yeah.
fire on a passive investment of ours. We got notified that there was a fire, and guess what? We didn't. My husband and I said, that really stinks. I'm glad we have insurance, and I'm glad we have a great team in place. They'll take care of it, and our returns are still coming in. Our distributions.
Tell me about it. I mean, what better can it be? I mean, if you have a fire in your single family, would you be sleeping for next 1 week? I don't think so. You'll be running around, you'll be traveling, and whatnot. I mean, I have a single family home. My tenant just left like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and he trashed my place. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to that home again and again to try to get it fixed. I don't find the contractor because I don't do the business here in New York. I do business outside New York. And the bad part is I don't know many contractors here. If it was Huntsville, I will just call, okay, get it done. It will be fixed. But because it is such a small place, contractors don't want to come. So now I have to go out, I have to bid, I have to look for 5 people, go every day, make sure they're working. So all that headache is not there in my multifamily. I don't spend that much time even on 100 unit multifamily because it is being managed by a professional property manager.
Yes, yes, amen. Let's also talk about the benefit of oftentimes you were talking about the value add model where for the audience that might be just stepping into this concept, that would be very similar to a fix and flip in a sense. Like, right, we're going to go in there, we're going to improve the property, and then we're going to be able to manage it with some higher rents potentially, and increase our net operating income. But in doing that, oftentimes there's a refinance involved. So there's another benefit to our passive investor. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, of course. I mean, I would love to, because Basically we get into the value add opportunities, right? I mean, and typically we get into the value add opportunities where maybe the vacancy is less than 90%. So in those situations, we get into a bridge kind of situation. We have bridge lenders whose, where the rate from a interest rate is a little bit higher, but the bridge lender gives us more proceeds for us to do some construction work on the property, right? So we underwrite all that. I mean, all that is underwritten even before we think of buying a property. I mean, even before we sign the contract, we have underwritten that we are going to get the loan maybe for 6%, maybe for 7%, and will 18 months or 24 months period where we will do the construction and all that. And at the end of 24 months, when the construction is over, when the property is stabilized, maybe in 24 months, maybe in 30 months, or maybe in 18 months, when we have stabilized the property, means we have raised the rent. We have done all the construction work. Now we have raised the rents. We have 3 months worth of P&L or 6 months worth of P&L. Then we go out and ask for a more permanent loan from Freddie or Fannie, depending upon what we like at that time and depending on the property. So when we do the refinance, we had, let's say, just to give you an example, let's say we had bought a property at 10 million, right? And and we have put in $2 million capital expenditure. We have increased the NOI significantly. When Freddie and Fannie come to the property, they evaluate the property. They do the market analysis at that time based on the current rent and the condition of the property. They will say your property actually worth 15 million. You had bought it at 10, you put another two in it, and they come back and they say maybe now it is, to make it simpler, maybe now it is 16 million, let's say, to make it. So there, and Fred is going to say, listen, now it is the worth, the property you bought it for 12, 13 million, now it is worth 16 million, and I'm going to give you 80% of that money to you. So how much is 80% of that? Is about 12.8 million. You have spent 12 million on the property, you're going to get 12.8 million, right? So you have 800,000 surplus. Originally, you had raised some money from the investors, maybe 2-3 million, whatever. That 800,000 surplus that you got because of the refinance, and you got the lower rate of return, I mean, lower interest rate. What is that 800,000? That 800,000 is going to your investors. I mean, that's a bunch chunk of money that investors are getting as a return on capital. It is not return of capital. Their percentage in the property still remains the same, but that 800,000 due to the refinance, that is distributed back to the investors. I mean, and that's a chunk of money. I mean, sometimes it is as much as I have gotten check for as much as 8-10%. On top of what my regular return is. So so
So
so yeah.
let's go ahead and put this in perspective also. Let's take the person that's invested, and we'll use simple numbers. Let's put the person that invested $100,000 in your offering, and you had your business plan, you implemented it, and for simplicity's purposes, year one, the distributions are low. That's typical for year one. Business plan is being implemented and the property is being stabilized, the construction's taking place, and year two, it's completely stabilized, and now we're in the refinance. Let's just say we refinance in year three, and I put in $100,000 at the front so I could be a limited partner. You guys did a cash out refi. What does that look like for me? I'm getting my distribution check still. I'm getting my
Yeah,
cost segregation. And now you did the cash out refi. What do I approximately? Every deal is
yeah,
different, listeners.
yeah. Every deal is different. Let's say it's a 7% pref deal. You are supposed to get first year you are supposed to get 7%. You did not get it because obviously distributions were low. Uh, and second year you're supposed to get 7%. Maybe you got 7% or not, but you still have accrued 7% from year one. So that money has to be given to you first. So in typical scenario, what I have seen at the end of second year, when you do the cash out refi, you have already you have already paid out your accrued return, which is 7 plus 7, 14% by that time, and you still have surplus. Sponsor still has surplus that he has to give it back to the investors. So 7 plus 7, and even if I get another 10%, that's more than enough. I mean, first year 7%, second year I'm getting 17% return on your money. Return on your money. It is not return of money. You have to remember. You're still holding, you are getting that extra 10% on top of your return, and you still hold your $100,000 investment in your property. So I'm just giving you very, very conservative numbers. Typically, they are a little bit more than that. I've seen it as much as 20, 25% cash out refi, and even more than that, actually. But on a very low side, 7 plus 7, additional 10, and then 7, 7, 7. And when you exit the property, another 30, 40%. So if you sum it up, I mean, in 5 years, 35, 45, another 30, at least 75 to 80% return on your money, basically.
It's
That's how
it's
I.
and it's phenomenal when people start putting these thoughts together, because it seems too good to be true. But as I look at my own passive investments, I think, okay, well, I know, I am anticipating the refi, so I put in the chunk of money. I know when the refi takes place, I'm like you're saying, I'm still in the deal. I still have that percentage of ownership, but now it's almost, for ease, it's almost like a tax return, right? You're like, oh, I'm getting this money back. You're getting this money back, and now you get to use that money in something else. You get to put it to work in another way, all while still making the returns in your initial investment. Now we're going to fast forward to when the deal is disposed of. That's the fancy word to say, hey, they sold it. So now they sell it. And now what's going to happen to our passive investor?
Yeah, I mean, what happens at that time is they sold the deal. As I said, at that time you have an upside in the property, right? Property which was appraised for 16 million over a period of time. Now the appraisal comes out maybe 18, 19 million when you are selling the property after a couple of years. Now at that, you are all this along you are getting at least 7 to 8, 9, 10% return. And when you are selling the property, there's a bunch of money you made on top of 16%, right? 16 million, because 16 million was the point where you did the refi. So at that point, you have, in this example, you have almost, let's say, another 3 million on top of it. You sold it for 19 million. So there is an additional 3%, 3 million, which is to be distributed back to the investor. Yes, granted, sponsor has to take some of it. Is it 70-30 or 80-20 kind of deal? So sponsor will take 20% or 30%. But maybe on the conservative side, let's say 70-30 deal. 70% of 3 million is 2.1 million. The 2.1 million has to be distributed back to investors. Investors had put in originally $2 million or $3 million. Let's say $3 million. On $3 million, you have additional $2.1 million to be distributed, which is like 70% return at the time. So instead of 100,000, an investor is going to get $170,000. So from day one till the end, investor was making all this money, 7, 7, 10, 7, 7, whatever. And at the end, when the property was sold, he got bunch of money, like anywhere from 50 to 70% on top of his money, because the property was sold, and some of it sponsor took because the sponsor worked on the deal for so long. But as an example, total return in this example for the investor was more than 100% on his money. I i personally do not, when I do the underwriting, I never look at a deal which is less than 75% in 5 years. Typically, it is much, much more than that. I mean, typically it's like 125% or 150% in 5 to 6 years. But on a very conservative side, at least 75% return on cash. I mean, cash return to investor Uh, and then you have all these tax benefits during the life cycle of the project. I mean, this is just an amazing, this is just a mind-boggling uh, asset class, which can create so much value for these passive investors. And all what investor has to do is cut the check and sign a bunch of papers. There's nothing else. As you said, even if there's a fire, you're not running to the property. Property manager is doing that job, because he's equipped to do that, and you have insurances and all that. uh, and many times due to insurance, when something of this sort happens, you actually properties property actually end up making out more on the deal. I'm not saying that's insurance fraud or anything.
But what you're saying is very accurate, and not that you would ever want anything to happen to any property, God forbid. But if something does happen, let's just say, well, if there's a fire like there was, well, now that has to be repaired, not just repaired, more than likely, right, completely redone. And the
completely done.
insurance is compensating for that, and so it's like, wow, instead of just having a light value add, it's like brand new.
I had hailstorm in my property. Here you go. Hailstorm, simple thing. Nothing would happen to the property with small things, right? But I got the roof replaced. $100,000 worth of, it's free, right? It's free. It has improved the value of my property. $100,000. All I had to pay, like maybe deductible, a couple of thousand. But I got the free roof for the whole property. uh, just, so those things happen. Not even fire, it's like hailstorm. Come on, it's a small ice. You have snow falling, 6 feet of snow falling in New York. That, as compared to that, say hailstorm is nothing, right? I'm just kind of giving you an example.
Yeah.
But that's how unfortunately, that's how the insurance work. They come, they look at it, they said, you want to change the roofs? I said yes, and they came and fixed the roof. Not fixed, replaced the roofs basically. So
Yep.
that increase the value of the property. When the value of the property increases, who gets the benefit? You are the owner. As a limited partner who has invested money in the property, they are the owner of that deal, and their valuation of the property has gone up, so to say.
Absolutely. And to contrast that for a moment with single family, which you're having your own experience with, and I fortunately didn't. I mitigated all the negative experiences with single family when we had them. However, if you have a major problem take place, that can completely wipe out all of the profits that you would have seen throughout the year, just in one swoop.
Tell me about it. In New York we have these furnaces, and they go off left and right. Every time the furnace goes off, here you go, $5,000.
Yep.
I don't make $5,000 in the house in a year, but that's an expense. You have to do it. You cannot wait. You cannot say to the tenant that I'm going to fix it next month.
Right.
It's going to freeze tomorrow. It has to be done like right now. If he says furnace is off, you are going there to the place, and or somebody is going there to that. And single family homes, with CDC, whatever is going on, um, you know, I don't mean to be whining, but my tenant who left, he didn't pay me the rent for 6 months. He left without paying me the rent for 6 months.
And
You're
he
talking
destroyed the property.
destroyed the property,
Oh
and
gosh.
there was nothing you could do. Forget about the money, the aggravation that you have, the aggravation, the peace of mind that you have lost. Was it worth my time? Obviously not. But did I lose my sleep? Obviously, yes. you know so bunch of money going out from I'm paying for him to live, and when he's leaving he's breaking the property, and now I have to fix it before I sell it. So my 6 months worth of time which I would have spent on my multifamily is gone, so to say, right? I could have bought an
Yep.
apartment complex in that time, and I could have been making money like left and right. But that's what I'm saying. As a passive investor, when I have invested passively, I don't touch anything. I sign the check and I'm getting the return. That's all I care, right? So that's the fundamental benefit of. To me, more than anything else, just peace of mind that I'm not doing it, because my job. If I'm a doctor, I'm focusing on my work, but my money is working for me without me working on it. That's the
Yes.
fundamental.
Yes, I mean, I'm a big fan of passively investing. I'm also a fan of being active because I'm still at that point where I just have too much energy, and I find it completely fascinating. And getting people involved is really exciting to me because just wanting to share this with other people so that they can have these benefits. Now, here's as we wrap up, I want to go down the path real fast of saying, um, wow, Prashant, this really truly is amazing. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I was always told if it's too good to be true, it can't be true. There's something shady going on. So, how would you suggest that people vet that? How do they choose the syndicator that they are working with?
See, I mean, there are a lot of syndicators out there. How would you invest in stock? You wouldn't just go and say, "This is the stock." There are a bunch of, I'm gonna pick this one. Not like that, right? You're gonna do some research. You're gonna look at the bio of the person who you are investing with. How much have you? How long have they been in the industry? How many deals have they done? How many investors they have had? What is the experience of the past investors? That's the most important part. How have they treated their past current existing investors in their deal? Have they done what they had promised that they would do? So those kind of things you want to review before you invest with somebody, right? uh, and I mean, to me, it is a safe investment. But once in a while there are some bad apples out there, so you have to have a watch out on that. So it's always better to go with a reputed investor, reputed sponsor, who has done couple of deals, or somewhere you have some trust built in already. Maybe invest with a friend whom you know for some time and he has done something. I mean, there are a bunch of places, on the Facebook or on the LinkedIn. There are a lot of once you get into this market, it's always some onus is on you to do some research. You attend these online events nowadays, or you start going to some of these boot camps where you meet different people. So the next thing is a bunch of syndicators anyway. Within a couple of months you will know like 10, 15 of them. You're not going to invest with everybody, and there will be deals coming to your way. And now it is up to you which one to pick and which one to invest in. So all you have to do is show your interest on Facebook. You will be subscribed to many deals, that will come to your inbox, and then you start attending their pitch deck or pitch webinar sessions to know more about. So that's the education process. So it is important for you to educate yourself, and I think it's going into that direction. For that, I mean, like what you are doing, podcasting, you are educating investors, and this is what I am also doing right now, is educating investors. But in addition to that, I have created a website called myrealtygains.com. And the fundamental purpose of that website is to educate passive investors about the benefits of uh, investing in multifamily real estate. So, check it out, myrealtygains.com, which it has a bunch of other things also on it. But education is an important piece. Your research is important. And uh, if you still have doubts, call Julie, she would love to answer you. Or you call me, basically. I would love to answer any questions.
That's right. And if you go to My Realty Gains, Prashant's website, he has a 7-day email learning program that you can, subscribe to. And I think that that's a really friendly way of going about that learning process. And I'll assure everyone listening that this might sound really complicated, or, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to get another degree in order to learn. It really isn't. But what I notice is that just some of the terminology is different, and so it's a matter of just understanding, oh, that's what they mean by a pref. Oh, okay. It's not complicated, and it's very simple to be a part of. And Prashant has made it easy with going to his website so that you can get into some education that is free. Continue to listen to this podcast and other podcasts, and you will find yourself well on your way. And as always, you can schedule times to, meet with people. I know I have a link. I think if you go to My Realty Gains, do you have a scheduling link over there?
That is correct. I have the scheduler link, and I have, in addition to that, I have a passionate passive investor club also, PPIC. I call it PPIC, Passionate Passive Investors Club. And it's nothing, just a little bit more than what you get in the email course. Email is just a 7-day course, 3 minutes each video coming to your email. You will know a little bit about, you will know a bunch about the passive investing. Then you go to PPIC, there you know a little bit more about investing. And of course there's a scheduling link, uh, and I mean, I always give my phone number also, although nobody calls me on my phone. They always email me or whatever. My number is 631-428-6479. Just text me, and we can talk. I mean, I would love to chat with you and answer any questions. And again, this is all free information. There's no obligation or anything. uh, we are just in this, the business is like that, is that in which we educate investors irrespective of whether they invest with us or not. That's not, I mean, we just do it because, I don't know, maybe because we want to give back to the society.
This
I
is
mean,
this is such a give back community, and I think that catches a lot of people off guard because they're kind of like, wait, what do they want from me? It's like, no, you actually, this multifamily niche is a bunch of go-givers, a lot of abundance mindset, and a lot of we respect people and their ability to choose and to use the education that they gain. So Prashant, thank you. I am so grateful to share space with you, to get to know you in this capacity. And I look forward to continuing to see you over on social media and interact with you there. And so the best way for people to reach you then would be My Realty Gains website.
that is correct. Yeah, on my Realty Gains website, everything is there. My scheduling link, my email, my email course. I already given my phone number, so
Yeah,
we are there, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. So nowadays there's just so many ways to connect with somebody, right? So when
this
you go
is so
to,
true. So true. Thank you so much, Prashant. And to my awesome audience, thank you. I hope that this gives you some confidence as you continue your journey, whatever stage you're at. If you're a new investor and you're just dabbling in this is really powerful information on the benefits of passively investing. If you're an intermediate investor or an advanced investor, this kind of information is good to always circle back to so that you're keeping your boots on the ground, in the sense of being able to relate to newer investors, to cycle them in so that they can reap the rewards of this. So wherever you're at in your journey, I hope that this has served you well. And remember, you are just at one step away from your freedom. So just stay taking those steps. Until next time, go find your freedom. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Ask Me How I Know. This episode was brought to you by 3 Keys Investments. They are dedicated to helping people like you, you, my awesome listeners, develop passive income and legacy wealth through multifamily investing. Feel free to check out their website, 3keysinvestments.com, to see if there is an offering that will help your portfolio grow and meet all of your needs. If you haven't already rated, reviewed, subscribed, liked, all of those bells and whistles, I would be absolutely honored if you would do that for Ask Me How I Know. Thanks again, and go make it a great day.